People are asking, in the heat of this election, because it looks like 2027 is tomorrow, where is Raila in all this? I mean, other than working with Ruto for now, how does Raila fit in the 2027 political matrix? That is the question. Sometimes back I said he could be a surprise candidate. But what is really happening or what could be happening? First, it is quite possible that Raila Odinga means business and that he will support William Samoei Ruto up to and including 2027. That Raila and his people will be part of that government. Indeed, there are those who believe that Raila Odinga will influence the appointment or selection of a running mate for Ruto. And that running mate may come from Nyanza. The name being floated is that of Governor Gladys Wanga. So it's quite possible. It is also possible that Raila Odinga could part ways with William Samoei Ruto. In the event Raila parts ways with William Samoei Ruto before 2027, what is he likely to do? The first possibility is that he himself could run, and I'll come to that later. But there's also the possibility that he could support an opposition candidate. And yet another possibility that he could front one person from ODM for president. Let's begin with the last one. If ODM decides to part ways with Ruto and they want to fill somebody, and that somebody is not Raila Odinga, who is this person likely to be? Looking at the hierarchy of the party, looking at the most visible figure from the party, then Edwin Sifuna is that person. Indeed, and I've said repeatedly, Edwin Sifuna could be a dangerous card in 2027. Just like other new politicians could pose a great danger to William Samoei Ruto. One, ODM is a national party. And therefore the support that somebody like Sifuna would get will be a national support. Even before Raila adds his own weight behind him. Sifuna equally comes from the second most populous Luhya community, the Luhya community. And above all, being a youthful politician, a firebrand, he will easily resonate with the Gen Zs. And therefore it is possible Raila could part ways with Ruto, throw a surprise candidate by way of Edwin Sifuna. And I've said before, Sifuna cannot just be another run. He will make a major, serious onslaught at the presidency. The next possibility, again, is that Raila Odinga, having parted ways with William Ruto, could choose to join other opposition leaders in selecting one of their own. If that one of their own is not Raila Odinga, Raila Odinga will have no problem with Kalonzo Musyoka. Absolutely none. After all, Kalonzo Musyoka has supported Raila Odinga 3 times, 2013, 2017, and 2022. Against all odds. Sometimes he had to offend many of his people to support Raila Odinga. And there had been a standing MOU that Raila would at some point support Kalonzo Musyoka. So there would be no problem Raila supporting Kalonzo Musyoka. There is Matiang'i. It's been said that after the handshake happened in 2018, there was an argument between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga that they would support Fred Matiang'i for president, deputized by Mutahi Kagwe. So again, it would not be a problem for Raila Odinga supporting Matiang'i for president. Again, Raila would have no problem supporting any of the other presidential candidates from the opposition. So that's a distinct possibility. He may have a small problem supporting Gachagua, but for the rest, I think Raila would have absolutely no problem. Now, how about Raila himself? I've said before that Raila can still run for president. People who think Raila is too old simply don't understand. I had an interview with international media in 2013 after Raila had lost. They thought that was the end of Raila Odinga. I told them, you would not have had the last of Raila until he says so. But so long as Raila is still around, he would still run for election. He ran in 2017, did the same in 2022. There are MPs in this country much older than Raila Odinga. There's one from somewhere, I can't remember, who is now 86 years and is running next year, 2027. Recently, there's a video doing the round of a 93-year-old, 91-year-old prime minister. There was that of Malaysia also, beyond 90, coming back to save the country. There are people like Biden and Trump. Recently, is it Mudavadi, I can't remember the name, from Malawi, of a man who was once president, coming back again. He's 83 years old. So in terms of age, Raila is still a young man. In terms of energy, few of us can match Raila's energy. So let's rule out the idea that Raila could be too old to run. That is not borne out by any facts. And many Kenyans may wish to know that most captains of industry in the developed world, especially in America, are people beyond 70. People who manage these big corporations you hear about, the big companies you hear about. They are not young boys and young girls. So let's rule out age and let's rule out energy. So long as Raila has good health, he can make a stab at the president. So that cannot stop Raila from running. How about other facts surrounding that? If Raila leaves Ruto, what will matter is how he leaves. If his exit is managed by Raila in a manner to endear him once again to Kenyans, you cannot stop Raila from becoming president if he wanted to become. He will only make reference to the Jogoo and the tractor. How it is told, Jogoo alimeza tractor na akasahau kuzima engine. Engine ya tractor ikaguruma kwa Jogoo akaisha 2002 when Kanu lost. It's attributed to Raila Odinga. Such a narrative can very easily be crafted. And those who had lost faith in Raila will come back running in droves. So again, just like age, which is not an issue, the issue of so-called betrayal, that is a traitor, that he has departed people, that he has stabbed them in the back, that can be taken care of by a simple narrative. How about the opposition leaders? Again, I've said this repeatedly. With the entry of Raila in the opposition, he will quickly occupy the high table, a place at the high table. because he quickly becomes first among equal, head and shoulders above the rest. That when the opposition figures are seated in a room and Raila enters, you can see who is the leader. You don't need to be told. So again, he will have no problem taking over the leadership of the opposition. But there's more. Each of these serious opposition figures may find supporting Raila Odinga the best in his interests. Look at Gachagua. Gachagua has such an anger against Ruto that he will want to support somebody who he will be sure will beat Ruto, if it's not himself. Looking in that room with those guys seated there, Gachagua, sharp as he is, can easily tell that Raila will be a sure bet. And therefore he will have no problem, not because he will love Raila, but because he will know it is Raila who will send Ruto home. Equally, like many of these other politicians apart from Kalonzo Musyoka who are relatively younger, they will know Raila will not stay there long. And therefore for Gachagua it will be like, well, I have a few issues to handle, including my impeachment and my being bad if I'm being bad. How about as stopgap president, as I sort my things out? Again, Gachagua being from Mount Kenya, and it has been said, this time, not Mount Kenya. Let it be somebody else other than Mount Kenya and Kalenjin. Therefore, he'll be curing that. A gap where a Mount Kenya person has not stood. And therefore, when he comes, that seesaw, that tug of these people wanting it only themselves will sort of have been settled. So for Gachagua, Raila will be a very good choice. Maybe by default, but a very good choice. For the rest, in fact, none of them can whisper a word in the presence of Raila. And therefore, they don't even have to be asked. It will be so obvious. There's no way somebody like Matiang'i, Eugene, Natembeya will try to fight over space with Raila Odinga. That leaves Kalonzo Musyoka. Kalonzo Musyoka knows if Raila is running, for him to run will be a waste of time. He may have the reasons, he may have the anger not support Raila and therefore run on his own. But he will realistically know he will get nowhere. Now, faced with such a situation, Kalonzo Musyoka may bite the bullet and say, well, why can't I deputize this old man? I'm also old, but let me deputize him as a guarantee that after Raila Odinga, it will be I, Kalonzo Musyoka. So you can see, indeed, if you look at the 2027 matrix and try to fix in Raila Odinga, you can see why Raila Odinga may as well be the sixth. And I know there are people pushing Raila to run, each for their own reasons and in their own interests. But if you ask me, if you are looking for somebody to beat William Samoei Ruto, go no further than Raila the sixth.